Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. Today is the final show of the season. It is 2024, December 30th. And well, today we're going to talk about the how year in review of 2024. How was 2024 for all of our participants on the show today? And what to look forward to, what's in store for 2025. Well, that's going to be an interesting segment today. So I really encourage people to tune in if you haven't tuned in already, or just your feedback on the podcast on the podcast version. So with that being said, let's start the show. I hope everyone enjoys it.
Let me go around. Let me go around the table, Brent.
Sure.
I noticed that I didn't change your name, so your iPad today, and I apologize.
I am iPad.
So that's another reason why you should fire me as your producer,
Yeah.
because I sometimes forget to change your name. So your iPad for today.
He just screwed up under the bus.
So and then I'm beside you, and then we have Patrick, and then we have Minnie, and we have Joseph, and we have Maddie, and then we also have the disembodied voice. She's not in a window, but we have Chantel Montour on the show as well. She's just calling in. We basically like a phone line. We'll say calling in on the phone line. We have Chantel on the call as well.
Yeah,
cool.
so I want to thank everyone for joining us today on our panel here. It's going to be a great show. Going to be lots to talk about, and just send your feedbacks on the comments section when you're watching this live. So Neil, let's start. Let's start off with Joseph.
Okay, you're up.
Start up. Oh, what? Huh? What?
Wow. So
Were you even paying attention to? Okay, so
Yes,
so
I was.
again,
I
we'll-
was. I was just
Okay.
kidding.
Okay. Okay.
One of the biggest accomplishments this year is
Okay.
advocacy, clearly.
Mhm.
As you all know, I am an avid supporter of the Canada Disability Benefit and what it can do for Canadians if they actually did something about it. But, they decided they want to kick the can down the road. My initial guess of December 18th of the regulations coming out did not happen. Regulations come out again in 2 days. We'll see if they publish it on January 1st and see if they're going to start 2025 with a lie.
Yeah.
interesting, yes. It'd be very interesting to see if that actually comes to fruition for sure.
Yeah.
What do you see in 2025, Joseph? What do you see coming to store for 2025?
Oh, we, we've lost your audio. We've lost your audio, Joseph. We've lost Joseph the audio. Maybe we can.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I was
okay.
trying to signal I was answering a phone call.
Oh, okay.
Still on the clock.
Okay. I have to learn charades. We need.
Charades.
Yeah, we need to have a course. We need to have a crash course in charades on the show, on the podcast.
I thought maybe 2025. So what was going to happen on 2025 there?
I don't
For
think we need a crash
2025, I
course on
think-
charades. Our journey as advocates is all a bunch of charades with governments of every level.
Yeah, touche. Yeah.
Very true.
Unfortunately for them, they like to play the charades without the words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to Minnie now. Do you have any feedback, Minnie, about your successes and what do you expect in 2025?
For me, I'm good. Like, yes, dealing with Ontario Disability Support Program is annoying, but I learned to be persistent, consistent, and stubborn. And I'm now able to access all of my money from ODSP because they released the Pay Direct. They stopped the Pay Direct because the whole Canada Post strike screwed up my rent check being paid out. So my next deposit on my ODSP is my full amount in my bank account. I maxed out my registered disability savings plan. I actually met my MP, Christian Wong Tam. She's being nominated again. Like they're canvassing. I already know who I'm voting for long before everything is happening, only because writing letters to my MP happens to be the party that actually responds back. It's not happening from the Liberal Party that's supposed to be for Toronto Centre. It's happening for NDP. So with that happening, I keep hearing an echo from Angry. Can you mute her?
Uh, Actually, I wonder if I can. Right now I've got
Okay.
her
So
window hidden. Yeah, so if you could mute your mic there, Chantel,
it
and
looks
then
muted right now. It looks
okay,
muted right now.
okay, good.
So for me, things are good. Like
Yeah.
my disability is not going anywhere. I still
Mhm,
have multiple sclerosis. Lesions in my brain are still there.
mhm.
Like bipolar disorder is still there. If I relapse, it's still there. It medication, I have sleep apnea now. I stop breathing in my sleep 32 times for 10 seconds.
That's
Oh,
scary. That's
ooh,
scary stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
couldn't get my CPAP machine because I didn't have the 125 because ODSP wouldn't cover it because the CPAP machine I have is connects to an app. Then that
Hmm.
app connects to the doctor's office that reviews how I'm sleeping.
Mhm.
They
Hmm.
didn't want to pay for it. So then I had to get mom, dad, and grandma to rally together, put money together to get it done. Luckily, they both gave me money for it. They both gave me more than I needed. So whatever's left over went to my disability savings plan. And then
Hmm.
December, because for specifically for me, my registered disability savings plan is deposit $5,000, the government gives me 10,500. And it's not like, oh, do less and do half effort. Either you do all
Hmm.
of it or you don't get it. So me training my parents, this is what we're doing. There's no half measures. There's no half-assing
Hmm.
anything. There's no pay it late, pay a little bit now and then do it next year. We're catching up right now. If they
Yeah.
don't do it, I don't get it. Luckily,
Yeah.
I got what I needed. It's maxed out. I waited for the government to put the disability grants and bonds in my account. And the big thing is, people with the disability savings plan or tax credit, they don't open the registered disability savings plan. If you don't
Hmm.
open it, you don't get the money. So you're sitting there
Yeah.
complaining for what? If you don't do all the parts,
Yeah.
you're causing a problem for yourself.
Well, you know what, and I mean, I was able to open a registered disability savings plan, but the problem is, I think for a lot of people, even if you open it, I could only afford to make one contribution and one contribution only, and even with that one contribution, it's matured up to like I think it's $17,000 now with one contribution, only. So
Exactly.
it's amazing,
My time limit is different. I have a longer
yeah.
time limit because I have a longer
Hmm.
time limit. I'm able to use all those resources for the longer time
Yeah.
of investing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's people who are younger like me. They're in their 30s, they're in their late 40s or early 40s. They have more time, but they don't do it. They still, oh, I
Hmm.
have this, but I'm not using it correctly. If you're not using it correctly, it doesn't matter what you do if you don't use it correctly.
Hmm.
Mhm.
With everybody now rushing to try get the disability tax credit and everything, if it doesn't matter if you get the Canada disability benefit, that thing opens your doors to more things.
Mhm.
One comment I wanted to actually to have one comment to open up to the whole entire floor here is and because I think everybody on this podcast knows that you and I, Brent, are from BC,
Mhm.
and everybody here is basically out east, and very familiar with the ODSP, the Ontario support, the disability support.
Mhm.
And we do know that the financial level of the ODSP is less than here in BC. But one thing I wanted to note, and I think you've noted it too, Brent, is there even though the amount is lower, a little bit lower than here in BC, it seems to me that the way they structure the ODSP, there's more kind of pockets of money that people can draw into. Like you were saying, there's a you've mentioned before, Minnie. There's a what is it like a business? There's a business pot of money that you can like
Yeah, there's a
starting a new business entrepreneurs thing. They have that. I mean,
I
they've
know where every dollar
yeah.
is in Ontario Disability Support Program.
They
People
don't
can
have
access if they choose to access it.
yeah,
Wow.
they don't have all those little pockets of money here in BC. They just have like
Yeah.
here's your money and that's it. Whereas it
uh,
seems to me like the
No, there's
because
other benefits. Remember, I read every policy across the country.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
true.
read every policy across. I know where all your
Yeah.
money is. It's a
Yeah.
matter of, do you access it and do you have the ability to
Yeah.
access it?
Well,
So I know it's
yeah.
there, and I know people are not accessing it because they're complaining about the monthly amount. But
Yeah.
if you're actually using the entire program, I
Mhm.
found Nova Scotia has a calculator on their website that
Mhm.
calculates exactly, if you make more money, how
Mhm.
much do you get from Nova Scotia's program. So
Oh,
don't tell me that, oh, there's only pockets of program and whatever, whatever. You have to be accessing the things that you need from the program.
Yeah. Okay,
Because I found every
Maddie's
one of them. I found
Maddie's got
every
a comment.
program across the country. They're
Yeah.
all there.
So in Ontario, we have several small bits of money. So there's a special food diet if you have certain conditions.
Mhm.
There's something for if you're pregnant, there's an additional amount that you're given if you're in your first year after giving birth. There's an amount. There's an amount $500 every year that can go towards improving your life or helping getting into work or whatnot. It depends on your worker.
Mhm.
A lot of these things they're not visibly out there on websites. They're behind the scenes, they're in the regulations, they're in the things.
Mhm.
If you have a good worker, they'll let you know of these things. But
Mhm.
they're not huge. They're small things, and these things have not increased with inflation. For example, the special food diet, the amounts for that we're given for that diet are they haven't changed in like 17, 18 years. And we know how much food inflation has happened in the last 4 years. And
Mhm.
if you have allergies, the foods you need have increased like 100 to 300%. Like a loaf of gluten-free bread was
Mhm.
$3.99 in 2020. It's $7.99, $8.99 now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have these little pockets of things, but they're not as they're not big and grand. They're very small additional things, and they have not improved in the last 4 years like everything else has
Mhm.
stepped up a little.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's it for me. Like again, here in BC, the saying goes is like you don't know what you don't know. I mean, as many as alluded to, like we don't know what we don't know, and I think you can say it's the fault of you and me, Brent, that we don't maybe research enough. But I would actually say it's kind of the fault of the government in the sense that, I mean, if they really wanted to help people, they would make all that information, publicly available and say, here is exactly what we offer.
Mhm.
And it's all kind of hidden away. And
Tucked away.
it's like we have to play these little mind games, and it's just
You have to kind of
it's
research,
annoying.
yeah, research and dig into it and
Yeah.
finding like where is it embedded into here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if Chantel wanted to pipe in or not.
Absolutely. I'm on ODSP as well. I also get a food grant because my stomach can't handle like the foods that I loved before.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but my children also have like issues with different wheats and stuff. So yeah, you're looking at, okay, I have to buy wheat bread, which is actually more than white bread, and it's like almost $8, $9. And I'm thinking like they gave me $85.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That was it for me. And for my husband, he got $45. And my children who have gluten issues, they only got 85. And I'm trying to put all this together, and with rent being 15, over almost 1600 now, and they're taking more than what they're giving. I get like 300 by the end of it, and that's after they paid rent. I get 400, and then that goes on bills.
Mhm.
Everything
Yeah.
goes on bills, and then I gotta wait till the 20th and pray to God that I bought enough food to last me till the 20th.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't get the Canada tax benefit. Apparently, I don't qualify for it, even though I'm stuck at home on oxygen, one leg, and
Yeah.
the other one doesn't work.
Well,
Wow.
again, I want to get Patrick's 2 cents too, but I wanted to say that I've been getting a lot of feedback lately from friends, and I have one friend that said, I listened to your podcast, and he says, I think you're focusing too much on the whole legislated poverty thing, and what you really should do is focus on the fact that really everybody that has a disability, the added cost for a person with a disability, it's like 40% more. Like we talk about the crip tax, right? It's like, you're a person, and you can add 40% to whatever your costs are, because the disability adds those costs. So he was saying that yes, maybe legislative poverty is a thing, but he says maybe what we all should be focusing on is instead just the added cost of just the disability itself is 40% markup. What's your feeling about that, Patrick? To put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it costs more to be disabled, doesn't it? I mean, just maintaining yourself, myself with diabetes type 1, if I didn't have the coverage, I'd be out of pocket a buck every time I take a blood sample, the pricking. And if I had to pay for my Dexcom out of pocket, there's no way I could do that. Um, so that was what qualified me for a disability tax credit, in addition to some other things that I have to look after. But I watched something the other day that got me thinking about what you were just talking about, and how fortunate we are to be in the southern climate of Canada. Because I saw this thing about what it costs to live in Nunavut, and I used to have customers that bought cell phones from my store, and had them airlifted up to Nunavut, because stuff is so much more expensive there. Like a case of water is $36 for 24.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
An orange is $7. Like,
Wow.
so you imagine living in Nunavut with a disability. There's just no way we could do it. And even if you worked, I mean, I just don't know how people will survive
Yeah.
on what the Northern allowance is.
Yeah, no kidding.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. What do you see some of the accomplishments in 2024, Patrick?
well, like many, I take advantage of the RDSP, and I grew mine this year from about $65,000 to over 100. So I'm pretty proud
Oh,
of that.
wow.
Oh,
Congratulations. Yeah.
right on.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, and I could really fucking use that money right now, and of course I
Yeah.
can't touch it.
Yeah.
So it's I know it's there for the future, and
Yeah.
if I'm not here for it, then it's here for my family, to bury me or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like preparing for the future.
Mhm.
Um, as my sight is failing, I know that I'm going to need to pay the cripple tax for getting stuff delivered and things like that. Um, like what do they call it? DoorDash, or
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know,
Skip the dishes and all that. Yeah.
Instacart and all them,
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
shopping for me, because
Mhm.
I tried to go produce shopping the other day just out with my family, and I can't distinguish whether something is good or not, in
Mhm.
produce.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be paying those taxes, and I know
Yeah.
other blind people do too.
Yeah, and
Just
talking about your vision, Patrick. So I know in the past, I mean, we've had you on a lot on the podcast. For people that don't know, you've been on the podcast a lot, and
Yes.
you talk about your vision a lot, and that it kind of it's kind of gone through hills and valleys, shall we say,
Yeah,
where it's had some moments of instability, and then it's been stable, and then unstable again. So right now, where is your vision at? Is it in a mode of instability again, or how's it
um,
sit?
I don't know my number right now, but I suspect it's in the low vision range. Not legally blind, but
Hmm.
that varies. It seems to be that, like right now I got you on a pretty big monitor so I can see everybody,
Yeah.
but if I put it on the iPad or on the phone, I couldn't make it
Hmm.
out.
Right.
Um, and detail is washed out, like
Right.
colors are kind of washed out on things. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm when I watch TV, I'm more listening to it than anything else
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
Hmm. What do you see going forward for 2025, Patrick?
Well, I'm going to continue just socking money away as much as I can. I put about $50 aside a month, which isn't a hell of a lot of money, but with the 3-to-1 ratio, it increases a little bit. And just preparing for the eventuality that I'm going to be on my own again. At some point, I can't rely on my folks forever. So, it's socking money away while the sun's shining, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
I didn't even
continue.
know that was available. So you guys just brought it up. I didn't even know that was available to me.
Oh,
Like,
the disability savings plan?
yeah, the
Oh, wow.
RDSP.
Yeah.
I'm just learning about this now, so I was like, oh my God,
Well, it's
Yeah.
where
so
do I get that?
Yeah.
it's tied to disability tax credit. You have to qualify for the one to get the other.
As
Mm-hmm.
long as
But
the
Oh,
it's
disability
they
tax
don't like
credit is
me.
open and approved and active, the letter that you get that says you're approved for the disability tax credit, you bring it to a financial institution or a certified financial advisor or a planner, and they can open the account. Mine's with an independent financial advisor. So he opened it with Allied Capital. Allied Capital doesn't charge any fees on a registered disability savings plan. If you're comfortable with your BMO or TD Bank, you can go in there and do it. But with TD Bank and BMO being retail financial products, they switch to financial advisors a lot. So it's better to find an independent financial advisor who's certified financial
yeah.
advisor. And it's basically like the credentials they take. Certified financial planners basically go to school for 5 years to be a financial advisor, while financial advisors at BMO and things, they just take a course and learn
Yeah.
mutual funds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the point is having someone who teaches you what your investments are doing. Like my global dynamic real estate fund gave me a dividend for $157. It stays in that plan. ODSP is
hmm
never going to touch it. If a caseworker wants to give me troubles, I will fight them back on it, and I would win. It's
Yep.
that simple.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that,
You gotta know your rights and fight
Yeah.
and
for
that
them.
that's why everybody needs to tune into a podcast so that you know.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time.
I
And I
know. I
also,
know.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, I don't just talk about it on my channel anymore this year. I also
Yeah.
talk about it on the Dr. Vibe show.
Yeah.
And he has his financial advisor, Wayne, on there. He gets everything with ODSP wrong. So,
Mm.
financial advisors and disability, typically they just sell you insurance. I don't need
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah.
I need to make sure my investments are growing the way they need to grow within the rules of ODSP. Sometimes Wayne will give advice, oh, this won't affect ODSP. I go, yes, it fucking will. And I could show you where.
Mhm.
And that's the thing about financial advisors, where,
hmm
okay, great, I work with people with disability, but they only focus on the disability tax credit and they only focus it based on how well they can make their commissions. They're not
Mm-hmm.
in it for you. It's my
Yeah.
money. It's not your money. It's mine. And I have to make sure it's there for me to exit off a disability. I literally am waiting for ODSP to tell me my assets are too big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the 5 year plan. And I just
That's
asked AI, how do I do it in 5 years? So if AI can explain it to me how to exit ODSP in 5 years, any human being can do it.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maddie, your mic's muted. Go ahead.
Yeah. Your RDSP isn't included in your ODSP asset limit. It's
No.
outside of it.
No.
It is, but people don't know that.
Yeah.
There's your ODSP asset limit, then there's your asset limit outside of being ODSP.
Yeah.
So great, we're on ODSP, we have rules around ODSP, but if you walk away from ODSP, you have your assets. So like the financial literacy needs to be educated
Yeah.
because the way that
Yeah.
people on ODSP think, oh, ODSP this and ODSP that, if you were no longer there, you focus on everything
Yeah.
on your own without them and you never have to check into a caseworker ever again.
If there were
That's the
two things
dream.
that I really
That's the
wish
dream.
that we,
Oh,
if there were
that's
two things that I wish that ODSP workers could be trained on, it's
Mhm.
financial literacy and it's self-employment.
hmm
Those are
Mhm.
the two areas where they don't know how to advise people because they don't know all the rules and they're taught so uh, um, they're taught in a box.
Mm.
It's those few workers that go outside of it and that actually learn about uh, learn about things like RDSP, learn about the changes that the federal government does here and there. They're
Mhm.
great, but for the most part, they just don't have a clue, and they have too many cases.
Yeah.
to get a clue. And if you have one of those workers, you can lose out on a lot because there are things that ODSP has and can do that can make things easier, and there's just things outside of ODSP. And I think sometimes, for those who can work, or those who can have family invest, we really need to help them transition to a life outside of ODSP in a way that's going to be beneficial for them. And most of us, we never that's not our goal because we're struggling with the moment now.
Yeah.
We don't look past, and I think ODSP workers could help
100%.
us,
Yeah.
but we need people in the community. We need allies who can be there, who can set the path. Here's a way if you're working. Here's a way if you've got outside work, people to help invest. The RDSP is one of the best things ever created, but it has to be used properly, and it has to be used knowledgeably, and it has to be used often.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I guess
Yep.
that's the biggest downfall for me of the our RDSP. It's great, but like I said in my own example, I was only able to make one contribution because, I just don't have the extra money.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to contribute more, but I just economically I just could not do it. I could only do the
We're
one.
also
I
forgetting
I got
how
lucky.
many registered accounts the government Canada lets us have. First home savings account, I have that. It's open in a
Mhm,
segregated fund, protected by ODSP up to $100,000.
mhm.
RSP, segregated fund, up to $100,000. Tax-free savings account, up to $100,000. All my accounts have money invested in it. Every
Mhm.
one of them having money invested in it. I know what's exempt assets, non-exempt assets, self-employed assets, partial exempt assets, gifts, voluntary. Every part of the policy that has dollar amounts in it, I made a plan for it. No, a caseworker is not going to remember all those things. That's fine. I will quote them back their policy when I talk to them in my benefits
Mhm.
every single time. So great. We're only focusing on the registered disability savings plan, but there is 4 other accounts we still need to focus on to build your assets. And
Mhm.
those are the other assets that help you live with a disability without government assistance, without all of the
Yeah.
programs.
Yeah.
Even putting any money that you get into a TFSA
Yep.
that earns something that you're going to take out again, you're making a little bit. Like there's ways of even, you can count your pennies to push a little bit by using
Mhm.
some of these government systems that we have.
Mm.
Again, financial literacy. Financial literacy is, I think, something that I find that a significant number of us with disabilities just have never been taught the basics, and we certainly haven't been taught these things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
financial literacy is not taught to regular non-disabled people. I talk to those people too. They don't know half this. Anybody how don't use a registered education savings plan for their children, and the government matches their contributions for their education, that they don't use it. And that has the worst time limit than the disability savings plan. Literally, when the kid turns 15, they lose all the benefits of matching contributions in the education savings plan. We have at least have till we're 49 years old to get everything
mhm.
from the disability plan. But if you had children and wanted to use the registered education savings plan, you literally have to do everything before they turn 15. That means if they have a job, like luckily ODSP says if your children are working, all their income is exempt. If they're in full-time school, they're in full-time college, all their income is exempt. Then the family needs to make sure that they build their assets if they're able to work. Because sitting in a whole generational family of everybody on disability and everybody not working and everybody waiting for the government is going to cause more problems long term. So great. We know all these things. They know like, but they're there. I literally can ask AI these questions and it gives me an example and it gives me sources of the information. So it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, no one's going to help me. Oh, I'm going to sit here and just no one's going to help me. The information is there. We're
Mm-hmm.
all have access to the internet in some way. So that means some way someone can ask AI these questions and get a plan.
Now I just have to ask, Minnie, have you ever watched Terminator? Are you familiar with Skynet? And
I'm
and
not
the
worried. Like, look, We have technology today that helps us today in our situation today. We're not waiting for somebody in Parliament or MPP to maybe make a policy and do something. Prince Charming is not coming. So once I accepted that in 2024, Prince Charming is not coming. Yes, mom, dad, and grandma will do what they can when they can, but they really don't want to. I turn 40 next year. My family does not want to help me as much as they want to do. So that means I have to make sure my internet business is making money, my coaching business is making money, my financial advisor business is making money. Everything that I'm capable of doing has to make me money so that I can walk into a disability office and not be on disability. My disability doesn't change. The prescriptions don't change. My follow-up doesn't change. My B12 shots don't change. My infusions don't change. Those things don't change. But I call the pharmacist and ask them how much these things cost. And it's in my financial number of how much I need to have so I can leave disability completely. Like my CPAP machine, I know it's $775. That means in 5 years, if ODSP wants to be a dick and not give me my CPAP machine, I have my money ready for my CPAP machine. Like that's the whole point why I got my pay direct terminated, so I get all my income to myself, so I control my money. Next time is the Canada Post strike, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting here waiting for no, Prince Charming is not coming. The government don't care. We need to do stuff for ourselves.
How about Joseph?
Well-
Is Joseph coming?
Here I am.
You're not on camera yet, though, MJ.
Hi, MJ.
I
You're
was
looking
one.
for Prince Charming. I was making a joke.
Oh,
Hey.
okay.
I'm on the
Yeah,
phone with
you're
my
not.
boss.
You're not on camera yet. Oh, there you go. I'll make sure that I pop you in there. Just give me 1 second.
Mhm.
Uh,
So AI seems to be smarter than the government.
No,
Yes.
it's better at communicating.
That's not
That's
hard
the
to.
difference.
That's not hard
It's-
to accomplish.
I
really.
believe-
it's a communication challenge that we have with government most of the time. It's not necessarily the government's good or bad. It's just they're
Because
lousy
even when there's
communicators.
people in government that wants to change a policy to make our lives better, they claim there's so much red tape they can't do anything. Then
yeah.
why the hell are you there to begin with?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we just had MJ join in, and MJ, I think you know what the questions are for this podcast. The first question is, what successes did you have this year in 2024? The second question is, what do you expect or not expect for people with disabilities in 2025?
How much I paid.
Go ahead, MJ.
I expect more of the same.
Status quo, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were basically going and saying that the budget is overwrought for BC and that we don't have a budget. So I'm expecting them to basically say to keep disability numbers exactly what they are. And that's the bottom line on those numbers, right? I mean, I'm just looking at this from the point of view of when you take a look at the news, they say, oh, we're 20 billion over drawn here, blah, blah, blah. Then that means for disability, there's nothing.
Yeah. Do we still
It's
have
all about priority. It's all
do we
about
still have
priorities.
Yeah. Do we still have Joseph
Yeah.
on the call?
Yeah, he's still here, just is mute and doesn't
okay.
have video.
Okay.
I just wondered if he's still there. 'Cause
Like,
What were your
I think-
what were your successes in 2024, MJ?
In 2024, I really don't know if I had any real successes. Other than talking to people about UABI and starting to get more people to understand the benefits of UABI, because I'm talking to conservatives and libertarians on spaces.
Yeah.
And one of the things you've always find with conservatives is they have that attitude of, oh, just buck up and suck it up and get your life going, blah, blah, blah. And part of the problem I have here is trying to explain this to these people that it's a bigger picture than just going and handing out free money. It's giving people the ability to have choice and opportunity and so on and so forth. And this is the problem that we're facing is a lot of us are, when you've already been audited once or twice, you get gun shy about actually going and doing anything to go and benefit your situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been I've been through 7 audits now. At least.
7. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite a few.
My worker does not like me. She hates me because I I'm like, I'm getting into the financial stuff and learning about the different things that are out there, like RDSP, like I just learned about today. And I'm like, no, I love to do crafts and I can sell crafts. My daughter, she makes amigurumi like it's no mañana. Like she's got a big appa in her room. It's like a 7-foot appa that she created. So yeah. So she does all these like she's got a 5-foot turtle and a butterfly. She's got all kinds of things. And she could sell them. But my daughter's so nervous that she won't even show them. So, like, you have people like that aren't willing. Like, I could get her the $500 grant, and they're like, no, that's not a business.
It's in the policy.
Oh, yeah.
Like this whole thing of your caseworkers being this, it's in the policy. I quote back their policy and I get AI to write a letter to ask what I want this year. Like July, I got back more money on special diet, my employment startup benefit. I naturally plan every July to get more money from ODSP. And I naturally plan it with the intention of to be competitive employed. I use back their exact words right back at them. So when I hear people saying their caseworker this and their case, let me write you a letter. Like it's like because I've done it this year. I've done it to 2 people this year that I met that have said they're on ODSP, and
I'm
it's
free. Go ahead.
One
Girl,
of the
help
problems.
me.
One of the
because the
problems,
thing
really,
is, if you're actually doing the thing of becoming competitive employed from running a business or doing a job or your family is trying to do those things, and then you have a caseworker that's not doing it, speak to her supervisor, go to legal aid, write to your MP. They have to do it. It's in the policy. Stop digging around and let them control your life. Because I don't let them push me around. Like I had 5 people try to tell me that I couldn't stop PayDirect, and I knew I could do it because AI told me to. So I went back and did it again. So you have to be persistent, consistent, annoying, and stubborn. Show up in the office, get what you need, and walk out. Because let a caseworker say, "Oh, the caseworker stopped this, the caseworker stopped that." The caseworker is there for a 2-week paycheck. That is their job. Their job is to execute the policy that you qualify for and every benefit that you're eligible for as a member of the benefit unit. So as a member of the benefit unit, access every fucking penny that government has.
Go ahead, MJ.
Absolutely.
well, there's
Yeah.
a job that can be replaced by AI. The workers. How about that? Problem solved. I mean, when see, here's the thing with AI is I understand how to use all the chat GPT and all the rest of that, but it's asking the right questions, formulating the question in such a way to give you the right result that you're looking for. I mean, a lot of people don't know what questions to ask, and this is what the situation is with a lot
I
of
wrote
people.
it like I literally had AI. How do I terminate PayDirect? It gave me a whole thing on Gemini Google. Then I recorded my screen with the AI talking and posted on my Instagram.
Okay, that's you. Right? You have to understand not everybody is savvy as all of us sitting here. Right? There's a lot of people out there that are on disability that are not as savvy as us. Unfortunately, this is just the reality that we're dealing with.
Well, we can't afford technology, a lot of us. That's the biggest problem for me. I don't even have a computer. I have a phone that I found on a bench like 4 years ago. That's it. I mean, that's what I'm using. I'm sorry for whoever lost it, but you know what? Losers, weepers, finders, keepers. So,
it was meant for you to find it. Yeah.
I mean,
doing the
there you go.
advocacy, that's taught me how to be more savvy. But not everybody's into the advocacy as much as we are. So they get lost in the shuffle, and it shouldn't be that way. We need better rules. We need better regulations. And I believe I
We
sent
need less regulations.
something on AI from AI about legislation and how it could change in just one question. Just one. How do we do things different than we've been doing now? How do we fix everything that's broken now? And it wrote it all out. and I helped. Of course, I went back. I didn't like some of the things it said, and I added my own wording. And then I sent it to Neil, and he's like, "That's a good start." Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And
Uh,
that's where we need to start is legislations, rules, the regulations. It all needs to change. We need to know everything needs to be transparent. We need a Freedom of Information Act like the Americans have.
yeah.
And we need to get it done ASAP because no government is telling the truth. No matter if it's Pierre, no matter if it's NDP, I don't care who it is. They're not going to tell you everything because they want to pocket some of it for themselves. Guaranteed.
Yeah, and you
Just
just
so you guys
oh
know, we
go.
do have a Freedom of Information Act. It's you can apply for stuff that's been requested as FOI in Canada for
Mhm.
free, but if you want your own investigation to go on, then you have to pay for it.
Mhm.
Yep, I've used it several times.
The
And
the
the
FOI.
legislation that we keep saying needs to change, we have to know what we want to change. That's there. Like I know change self-employment. I know change couples. I know like I know what to change. This is why I write my letters to my MP. I know to change pay direct for people that are capable of paying rent on their own. Like those are things I fought for this year on my own because there wasn't an organization who was going to fight for the things that I know to change to make my life better on ODSP. So I had to
Yep.
do it myself. I also know that Wellesley Place office has computers there available for people to use. So, and I know that March of Dimes has a technology clinic. Like there are charities that have resources and skills programs that are available, but if you don't actually want to do those things, they're not available to you.
There
Like I
I
is
know
didn't
what's
know
there is
about
there. I know
the
what
charities
March of
that
programs are
are
Dimes
available.
thing.
I
available.
know, like, you know how much honorariums I got this year for doing focus group research and interviews this year
But not
alone.
everybody is accessible to obtain to actually
I get
attend
that.
those
I
charities
get
and
that. But
attend those
sometimes people
programs.
sit there and say there's nothing there when there actually is something there.
But if they're saying that they have limited resources or they don't have the opportunity to get there, then that is a truly a problem you need to acknowledge. Is
Yeah.
that not
I do,
everybody
Yeah.
but
can
like
access
some
The,
those
people
programs?
fully say
Not
there's
everybody
nothing there
can
and
get
hold up
there.
a brick wall,
Yeah.
and there's
well,
actually is some. So sometimes they're asking the wrong questions because sometimes they hold a brick wall that there's nothing there. They don't look, they don't ask more people, and then they
They're
keep
not
complaining there's
saying
nothing there.
there's not always that they're not always
yeah,
saying that there's nothing there. Sometimes they're saying, "I'm sorry, I can't get there."
yeah.
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 It,
And
Yeah.
a
there,
lot of challenges that
there,
autistics have and those with intellectual disabilities is most of these things are hidden systems. They're not documented well, and the places that we may know to go for one thing, if it doesn't have links or places to others, we it's really challenging to figure out well where things can be. It's the problem isn't shouldn't be on us as people with disabilities to know
Yeah.
all of these things. The issue is, and I hammer it again and again when I have consultations with government, it's a lack of communication and it's a lack
Yeah.
of the real big thing that I was really pushed that if we're going to have a candidate disability benefit, if we're going to have this inclusion action plan, what we really need are those folks who can do service navigation. Service navigation will open the doors for people who can't find the door.
Well,
It'll streamline things. It'll make sure that government programs are actually utilized, and efficient.
well, you
You
just
know,
said
in BC, they actually have an FOI fee, like fee to play. And the government of the day, way back now, they've actually implemented in. And so when, like, say news, they do stories, they gotta keep paying all these fees. And then when
yeah.
they pay the fee, then they find that there's missing documentation. Oh no, that's the wrong ministry. They gotta do all over again. And it's whole bureaucratic red tape garbage, right?
But in Canada, the fee for FOI is like $5.
Oh well,
Well, Maddie, you just said
It's
something.
not that much.
yeah.
Maddie, you just said something important though too. Is that you said that the information is not easily accessible or available, and I think that's the thing to really hammer home is it's not available on purpose. It's deliberately not available on.
Mhm,
It's on purpose,
mhm.
and that is where you can squarely put the blame back on the government because yeah, I mean yeah, you can say that you and I, Brent, we're responsible for our own well-being and we should research things. That's all true. That's all true.
Yeah.
But when the government deliberately hides stuff and says, "Oh well, sorry,
Yeah, we
sorry
just
that we
tuck
sorry
it
that we hid
here.
we hid all this stuff away. Sorry about that."
Well, you can find it online. You can
Yeah,
find it all online.
but it's all
Not
buried
always.
behind a whole
Not
bunch of
always.
Yeah.
I have a question for
Yeah.
everybody.
Sure.
I have a question. So aside from the Canada Disability Benefit,
Mhm.
aside from that, what has the Disability Action Inclusion Plan done for you?
Zero. Zero.
It's not actually active yet. Like the first thing in it was going to be the disability benefit. It's got a 4 or 5 year plan of other things it's going to do. We can't see the reality to it yet because
But
it's
why
it's
do we
not
need to
finished
start
yet.
with the why do we need to start with the employment side? Why couldn't we start
Okay,
with
this
housing?
government
Why
loves
couldn't we
talking
start
about
with
talking.
health?
Oh, I know.
See,
Well,
I think
it's
So
so
many.
multifaceted, and
I,
here's the biggest problem I see is our Constitution has two separate levels of responsibility, and social services and disability and a lot of these things in health and insurance and all these things are provincial. So the federal government doing something, it has got the ability to incentivize and guide, but not to direct. And
well, the
so
federal government.
it's really challenging when we hit these things because we're relying the provinces should be doing this. The provinces should be doing 100% of this, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
They don't, so the federal government sees that they need to get in some place, but because we're seeing this
Well,
how
if the
long it
federal
took
government
things
doesn't,
like
they're just going to end up
the
paying for it anyways.
childcare and dental and other things. The provinces don't like the government playing in their area unless it comes with a lot of money. But there's only so much money that the federal government has to incentivize things, and it's all about priority. So it's priority, it's the damn separation of responsibilities, and it's provincial governments that like the status quo, even though the status quo is hurting so many of us.
I saw an interesting comment, Brent, today on the BC Disability Caucus page.
Oh, yes.
And you and I both know what that page is, and they do great stuff. They just basically post a bunch of basically repost articles that highlight the inequalities for people with disabilities in BC. And one of the comments, it was just a comment from somebody just typed in a comment. Um, and they were saying that, you know, like for context, you know, I was born in 1968, so I'm basically a 70s kid, right? And you're basically a 70s kid too. And one of the comments made was, all of us advocates that were 70s kids, we all kind of grew up like sort of militarized and kind of angry, like sort like the whole ADA. Like
Yeah.
we had our friend Aaron Richmond. He's an American, and we talked about the Americans with Disabilities Act, right? The ADA, and there's really no equivalent here in Canada. But that was born out of a whole bunch of angry people with disabilities in the 70s. And anyway, the comment that was made, and people can disagree with it, I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
The comment that was made is that that we had those people in the 70s like you and me, Brent, that were like the angry, like activist people. And now the comment was like, it seems like in the 2000s and onward, that more and more advocates are getting more and more kind of neutered and quiet and compliant. And so what's everybody's take on that?
Well,
I'm
in
a
Ontario,
90s
we've had
kid.
the AODA for 20 years and it's still not into effect yet.
Wow.
And I'm a 90s kid, just letting you know. And you know what? I'm as big an advocate as you guys, but I think it's because I grew up tougher than most.
Okay.
So I've learned the ins and outs of the way those streets work and the way disability works through trial and error. I've been from the time I was 15 trying to get on ODSP because I've had issues. I've had juvenile arthritis. My parents didn't get extra help for that. I needed K-tape all the time. It's just they're steered not to give you money.
Mm.
The way they're set up is, okay, this is what you get. And that's what they tell you. This is it. This is all you can get. They don't tell you, oh, there's stuff for wound care, there's stuff for this, there's places you can go for that. There's no mention of March of Dimes. I'm just learning a
No.
March of Dimes right now.
March of
I
Dimes
mean,
does nothing in my area. They're not active.
But
We've
the
looked into
president
it.
had a meeting for March of Dimes of what he wanted to do to expand the company. He knows my list because a lot of stuff he's missing. That the financial literacy thing needs to be in all the programs because all they teach is how to be poor.
Yep.
Where I won't sit down and just be poor. It's just not going to happen for me. But March of Dimes did it. Shay did a town hall. Race and Disability did a town hall. Like most of the ones that want to move forward, like move your life forward, want you to have skills and resources and talents and things like that. But all the ones that are double the rates or ODSP Action Coalition or Kilt, they literally just keep you small. So you need to figure out what you want for your life long term. Because if you went around following all these organizations, they're only in it to get their government funding. You realize
Yeah,
that. And then if they're
that's not really the case though, Minnie. I mean,
I
a
went
lot
I
of
went
those
to all of
organizations.
them. I went through every meeting and all of them and
But
asked them all the questions.
I'm going to
And
ask you the same question everybody else of everybody else. If Ontario only has 200,000 jobs and 800,000 people on assistance, at what point do you decide that somebody should die because they're going to be poor?
see, that's the thing.
No, we need
that's
to
where me
raise
comes
rates.
in.
We
Otherwise,
do. We like,
employment
I'm not
supports
saying
don't get
not to raise
raised.
the rates. I'm just saying the intentions of certain organizations are like if you go there for support and you go there with a different mission than what the mission is in that organization, they
Well,
lead you in a
every
different
organization
direction.
has a
Yeah,
They
mission.
lead you
it's
in a different direction. So if you don't know
if
the
your
direction you
baseline,
want to
if you
have
don't
and you're
have your
following the
baseline,
organization with their intention, because they make their intention based on how they get their government funding. When
it's
they
not
write
about
their
them getting
grants
government
and do other
funding. It's
things,
about
that's how they get their
individuals.
funding.
But
I
if
went
you
through
can't
so many
eat, if you
charities
can't
this
have your
year.
Okay,
home,
let's
then you
just
can't
have
have anything
Whoa, whoa,
else.
whoa. Hang on.
yeah. Yeah. We'll get Maddie to speak and
Sorry, I apologize.
I know we'll get Maddie to speak and then I know that
Sorry,
MJ's
Maddie.
got his hand up too. So
Hmm.
just finish your thought, Maddie, and then we'll get MJ to
Okay.
pipe in.
I've been involved in all these organizations as well. And if the biggest problem we have, and we all agreed about 3-4 years ago, that getting the income we have to a level of at least at the poverty level is the most important thing because without it, if you don't have a basic income, if you don't have ability to get work, if you don't have a place to live, you don't have money for food, your mental health,
Yep.
your physical health are all going to decline. So
Yep.
the reason why this is the first thing and the most important thing to push for is just for basic ability to survive. It's not the only thing these organizations push for. When we do budget consultations and whatnot, there's other things. Improving the lives of people that can work. That's also a thing. But so many of the people on ODSP are barely surviving, and that is the reason why all of these organizations are pushing this first.
Yep.
I
MJ,
eat
Okay.
3 meals a day, or
yeah.
3 meals a week. Sorry, 3 meals a week. I used to eat 3 meals a day before Trudeau came into office, and now that he's here, I'm eating 3 times a week so that my children can eat 3 times a day.
Yeah, that's not good. I just wanted to get MJ. Go ahead, MJ.
I mean, yeah, I think the bigger conversation here is that something that Vinny just touched on is all of these organizations that are about quote helping people that are on disability are basically most of that money is going to ensure that they continue to be viable to stay in business. And most of the time and money and all that money doesn't go to actually financially helping people. It just goes to create jobs off of our government tax roll. And this is part of the problem that we're facing here is we have a large extended bureaucracy that's being paid by our government to go and keep the quote help out the people that are disabled. That's also being, like being paid by the government. So what we have is this continual cycle that's been created of an entire system that's designed to ensure that people stay disabled, stay poor, stay in a certain situation, and they don't go and aren't able to move up. So all of these organizations are taking hundreds of millions, if not billions, across this nation that could be actually going directly to financially helping people that are on disability. And yes, these people are making good money in their jobs, working at Work BC and all these other programs that are out there for people. And that's fine and dandy. But then again, here we are back going and getting what, $1,400, $1,500 a month in BC.
It's trickle down economics, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I'm, I was part of a larger discussion on this earlier today in a space, and a lot of people are starting to come to the realization that the bureaucracy that's been created is not there to help us. It's just there to make things worse.
Bureaucracy's purpose is to serve bureaucracy. It's
That
not
is
to
true.
serve us.
Yeah.
It's not to serve us.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 2024.
But these charities are offering me jobs, and I literally won't take their job because they won't pay me in cash. They want to pay me in a gift card. A gift card makes the corporation rich. So when these organizations of March of Dimes and all these little charities want to offer me something because my knowledge, my experience, and all that, and they cannot pay me a dollar amount, it's a problem because every time they buy a gift card, it gives them a tax break.
Yeah.
It makes them better. And then, I'm on ODSP. You can't really do that much. I call them out on their bullshit lie because I know it's not true. If they're
we can
paying
make
me
$1,000 a month.
if they're paying me properly, I can leave ODSP. The same organizations that claim to help people at ODSP claim they want to hire you, but don't want to hire you and pay you what you're worth.
Yeah.
That's a big problem here in BC too, Brent. Remember that, I mean, there was especially when it was with the BC Liberals, remember? There was a whole economy of
I'm better off to be a consultant
sweatshops
to my MPP party and get paid what I'm worth than actually do an organization that's actually trying to make a petition to an organization.
Yes, but you have to remember, you're one person. Not everybody is in the same position as you.
I know that, but we're talking about what happened in 2024. I haven't been on the podcast in a very long time. So these are the things I've been doing. This is the stuff I've been trying to research to figure out where I'm putting my money. If my assets are getting bigger, where do I donate my money in these organizations? How do these organizations treat me as a person with a disability? Like MS Canada won't pay me what I'm worth. Like they want me to volunteer my time with them, only volunteer my time with them. I go, no, my time, my knowledge can make money. So if you, the organization with all this money, all these shareholders, all these investors, you know how many times in their newsletter they say who donated them money and how much the money been donated from them? The whole Taylor Swift thing. Like every matching donation of Taylor Swift to Food Bank Canada, that money couldn't go to actual people to buy food. But they had to make an auction and make this big, huge production with Taylor Swift and all that stuff. We didn't need that. We didn't need that.
But remember,
the amount of money these organizations get, they can actually supplement our income because it happened this year. It literally happened this year. When I do my budget review, how much did I get in honorariums and gift cards and organizations from organizations within the policy of ODSP? It was enough to supplement my ODSP. It was enough to supplement my disability stuff. It was an option for me that I asked for, that I demanded for from these organizations. So I understand not everyone is able to do it, but the fact that I am doing it shows you what's possible. Because I'm not sitting here waiting for them to hand me something. I am asking them to give me something based on what I know I'm capable of doing.
The tools,
remember when the BC Liberals were in power here, Brent?
Yes.
A big pillar of their whole program for people with disabilities was let's endorse sweatshops, right? I mean that was a legit strategy. I'm not even joking. There was legitimate sweatshop employment opportunities for people with disabilities. Things like sit there and put a popsicle stick in a box. Remember we had Tamara Taggart, and she talked about her son having to stack the juice boxes at lunch
Yeah.
for all
Yep,
the
for all the
able-bodied
other
kids.
students.
I mean, they literally had those types of jobs,
Mm.
quote unquote, air quote jobs
Right.
for people with disabilities, literally sweatshop job, and they were like, what were they like, $2 an hour to put popsicle sticks in boxes. And it's like, look at the jobs we're creating for people with disabilities. It's disgusting. It's
Yeah.
disgusting that they did that. Disgusting.
You know,
Really,
and
really
the part
disgusting.
that really gets me is like they say the jobs plan, like look what we're doing, and like doesn't matter which government's in. Now, you look at the Liberals, like I'll look at BC, like we had the Liberal Party, then we had the Green Party with the NDP, and I remember the first time that I went in to see the then premier. He wasn't premier then became the premier BC. We sat down, Sonia and I went in, we had a meeting, and said, you don't have a job. And I said, well, I had a job. I can't do that kind of job, that kind of work anymore. Work for myself would be better. Oh, no, there's all sorts of jobs out there. It was the jobs, and it's just that narrative, and it's just the copy paste as they go along. As you give the person the tools, and maybe they can blossom, but you give them the basic floor to work with, and then you give them the tools, and you say, hey, here, this is if you can do something, great. If you can't, well, but if you don't give them the proper resources, I can give you a quick overview of 2024, where I see the successes, where I saw things at, and then 2025, where do I see things going? Kind of like everyone said on the podcast already. 2024 started out it's a very unique year, right? We optimistic. We wanted to see change happen this year. Now we know about the CDB. It's been topsy-turvy. It's gone from really good to next to like zero. Like who knows where it's going to end up. A lot of red tape involved. It's like throwing hand grenades at each of the governments. Like, oh, your turn.
Yeah.
And now I look at it as saying there's so much red tape, bureaucratic bullshit that's involved in it, all the hoops to jump through it. But then you get the provincial government in BC who relied on the CDB because they didn't put nothing in their platform and saying about the rate increase. So they said, we're going to wait on the federal government because that's what they're going to do in 2025, in July of 2025. Well, we know that most people are not going to qualify for it, and if they do, it's going to be up to that 200 per household, not individual. So now it's going to be not even breadcrumbs, but then the government's going to say, well, the government did do it though, didn't they? So what do I see going to 2025? I see more status quo.
Yeah.
I see BC government saying, due to economic downturn, you were in a recession. Yeah, we're have to tighten our belts, but there's more to do. Don't worry. Like, we have your back. Don't worry.
But meanwhile, all the government workers are now getting a raise for the new union contracts, and everyone else is getting a raise, and the rest of us out here are still getting screwed. This is sort of the status quo.
Just out of curiosity.
And anyways, Maddie's had a hand up for 5 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead, Maddie.
It's falling off.
You're a very
I actually had to take my physical hand down. We've been going through on our podcast at Above and Beyond the Accessibility and Disability Podcast. We've been doing the 12 days of AOD, counting down until the Ontario is barrier free, in a very sarcastic measure. But one of the things that we were talking about lived experience, and I realized when we're talking about expertise of this and that, and what Minnie says is really we're beginning to know our value, and it's organizations need to pay us our value. So I realized the term lived experience isn't enough. We need to talk about we have lived expertise.
Yeah,
we are at a level playing field with those around us, and if you want our expertise, it comes with a cost. And I've seen more and more of a shift. More organizations are willing to pay for this. It's not everywhere, and it's still probably not at the amount that it should be. But I look back 4 years ago and now, and I do see this push, but it is so important that if you want those of us with disabilities to guide you in terms of how to support us, you need to pay us. You need, volunteering. We are always at a it's not a level playing field. If you've got these people that are working for organizations doing stuff and are volunteering their time while they're working, it's actually they're being paid for their work still. They're being paid for their time and their money. When we who are not as employed are doing the same thing, we are not being paid for it. And that's something that there's a shift, a culture shift that needs to happen. And I think really by changing, getting rid of lived expertise, lived experience and calling it lived expertise, we may be able to plant the seeds that there's inherent value in what we do. And it's not just about what we've done, it's about the whole, everything that comes with our life, living it is a value that is a value add to anybody that is looking for what we know.
Interesting.
I was able to get a full scholarship paid for a US course to be a certified coach. They paid for it. They gave it to me because of how openly I talk about what we're talking about. So I send them the invoice. Liberal Party want to do consultations. They said, "Oh, send us the invoice." I sent them the invoice. The invoice was more money than their budget allowed, but I sent them the invoice.
Yeah.
Like I don't even let them tell me the price. I tell them my price and I send them the invoice.
Show
I'm not
me the
like,
money.
but
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like, yes, I have lived experience. I've lived expertise. I know what to charge it for. Like this year, someone paid me $200 for financial coaching because she has a disability. She came off her employer disability. She paid the $200. And then now I'm trying to determine what to charge. Yes, there's a sliding scale, but at the same time, my sliding scale needs to make sure I'm not wasting my physical energy on someone who may or may not be ready to execute the plan. Because the knowledge doesn't change. The way I'm organizing my courses and coaching with AI now doesn't change. The results are still the results. I'm able to execute the results from other people. What I learned about people that own DSP or any disability program that exit their programs, they don't talk about what happens when they left. They just left and they're gone. And anybody who was disabled and poor and not no longer anymore, they're above the poverty line, they're above middle class income, they don't talk about it anymore. They blend into the non-disabled people. So we're sitting here thinking that, oh, it's impossible to leave assistance and impossible to do this when the people who've left, they are not telling us how they did it. They're not telling us. They're just out there living their rich, best lives, and that's what they're doing. Like Richard Branson has dyslexia. He made his dyslexia foundation, richest billionaire in the world with his disability. He spends all his money funding dyslexia research and all those support programs. Like he's not, he's like that is what's happening with people with disability. When I look up your disability, your condition in entrepreneurship, I can find everybody in your disability, in your category, who's self-employed, running a business, charging a lot more money than what they get on assistance. They're actually charging the same amount. So if they get $2,000 on assistance, they're charging $2,000 in their coaching practice. Like Serona V, he's an American. He has cerebral palsy. His spokesperson is a Power Ranger, full-on Red Power Ranger doing a sales video, charges $4,500 in his coaching practice. Runs ads on YouTube, runs ads on Facebook, has a book on Amazon, has all those things. And his coaching practice is $4,500 US. So that showed me, one, I'm charging too little. Two, I'm talking to the wrong people in entrepreneurship. And then, caseworker disability, don't want to understand self-employment disability, speak to a fucking bookkeeper. I'm not a bookkeeper. They can talk to accounting. They can fully talk to accounting. They can email accounting. They can go to accounting. They talk to the ministry and finance. They know how to properly do general accounting practices. They can do the general accounting practices. They're not going to stress me out to give them more paperwork and anything I'm doing to be self-employed and charged by expertise.
My friend Kent, I just talked to him the other day, and he was saying that he's basically done kind of the editor producer kind of work that I do, like all the stuff behind the scenes, not even on the podcast. He's saying like all the kind of editor producer stuff that I do, but he said actually way less than I do. He was saying like I'm only doing a fraction of what you do on the podcast, Neil. And he
Right.
says like I get paid like $700 an hour sometimes.
Wow.
So I mean that should show you, Brent, like potentially you and I could be making like $300 to $700
But
an
I said
hour.
that the last time I was here. You
Yeah,
didn't
I
realize
know.
that. I said that. I
Yeah.
said, what skills do you have that you
Yeah.
can market online and send
Mhm.
somebody an invoice to pay? PayPal
Yeah.
art. You already have your PayPal donate me PayPal account.
Yeah.
Log in your PayPal and click create an invoice.
Yeah.
Same button right there. Same
Yeah.
account.
Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
Huh.
Yeah.
You guys can both offer, like Neil, you can offer podcast hosting skills, right? You can do
Yeah.
it for
Yeah.
other people. You have
Sure.
a lot. When I'm on any podcast with other people, I see their value. The very fact that they're doing stuff is
Yes.
value. The very fact that you're advocating anywhere, there's value. And I think
Yes.
that we do not. I think we get stuck in undervaluing ourselves because we are in a system that we see in our bank account how undervalued we are,
Mhm.
and we don't know how to break through that.
Under.
But every one of us that are on this podcast, every one of us here has the expertise of our life, the expertise of the things that we talk about. It's very obvious that we have value
You are.
that we should be able to apply in other things, and not in a 9 to 5 way, but in whatever manner of energy that we have.
Yeah.
So hey, I'll be your cheerleader.
There you go.
Tom, the
Uh,
big pink guy was just calling on the phone.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
Sonia said, take the phone, take the call.
Chantel, go ahead.
um, like when you talk about value, as you guys know, I've been trying to look for a dog to adopt.
Mhm.
I've still not got a dog that because the adoption agencies for these dogs, the humane societies, won't give me one because I'm disabled and don't make enough.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Can you foster an
Not
animal?
even a joke. I've even offered to foster animals, foster to adopt. Like, so I'm slowly paying into it while, the dog is being taken care of.
Yeah.
I've offered, I know how to do a whelping pen. I know how to do weaning. I know how to train dogs. I've offered to train animals so that they're not brought back
Right.
to the shelter. No, they won't. No,
Are you only
nothing.
looking to be hired by another company?
No.
Are you looking to start your own company?
I can start my own company. I could train dogs all day long. I love dogs. I love dogs more
Starting
than
your own
people.
company is a different mindset and behaviors than waiting for somebody to hire you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally.
Right
Because
now, I'm not waiting for anybody to hire me. I've been actively saying I can help your company by training these dogs so that nobody can bring them back
so then
Hmm.
because there will be no reason.
build your social media so that it teaches like 1 minute clips of how to do that for dog training. Like Caesar
Mhm.
Milan or Cat Daddy on my Crazy Cat documentary. Like
Yeah.
that's how, because Disabled Girl on Fire, she runs a doggy daycare. She's
Mhm.
She's an American. Their disability program is worse than ours, but she runs a doggy daycare. Then she does the buy nothing refurbished furniture and sells it. So if you're willing to build a business plan, because Rise helps people with mental health and addiction launch a business, and they give you a mentor to help you launch your business. It's a national charity across the country that does it.
There's only one thing that's stopping me, and that's portable oxygen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in an apartment and have been for 6 years while they decide whether I fully need it or not. Even though I've been on it for like 6 years now,
Mhm.
they're trying to still decide whether they should give that to me or not. It's
Hmm.
$1,400 for a
Oh,
machine. I don't have that.
yeah.
And I'm not asking others for it either.
Hmm.
Because that's my pride. That's my native pride. And I'm gonna like hold that like till the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that's something that my grandparents would say. You don't ask people others for help. You get it done yourself. Well, I'm sorry, I can't go foraging in the forest like they and I just like I physically can't right
Yeah.
now.
But some of
But
our
if
things
I
that our
could,
family
I would.
teach us actually doesn't help us. Like if I listen to my family, they would think I'm fine. They weren't there when I'm psychotic. They weren't there. Like some of their advice actually is not needed. You have to have a filter of discernment of filtering out what advice is good for you to make your life better and what advice is not. Holding on to pride, not asking for help, also my problem too. But I learned that being in this country that has the wonderful resources it has, make your applications. Ask for the help that they offer. Instead of sitting around waiting for some Prince Charming to walk through the door. He's not going to walk through the door. You have to walk out there and find out all the stuff. Yes, I get oxygen is a complicated thing of walking around with. Once that problem is solved, like my CPAP machine, I'm there falling asleep washing dishes. But now the CPAP machine is there and I'm able to sleep through the night with compressed air in my lungs all night long. I'm able to think better. Now that I'm able to think better, I'm able to solve a different problem. So yes, if oxygen is your biggest barrier, we need to figure out how to get your oxygen tank. If it's building a GoFundMe page to fund your oxygen tank, then that's what we do.
Yeah.
But sitting here waiting for another program or another caseworker to say, hey, here's your money, they're not going to do that. You
Yeah.
literally have to go to them and tell them, I need these things. How can I get it together? So great. I know ODSP will give you the $500 if you can prove your business plan. So great. When you have time or your kids are capable to help you, make the business plan. So the business plan is one less thing that's done, and then an oxygen tank, next one. That way you can't say, I'm waiting for my business plan. I don't have my business plan. You have your business plan and your oxygen tank. Then we figure out what's next.
I just wanted to hop on something that you said just now, Domini, and it's a little bit of a different tack, but you know, you kind of alluded to the fact that there's a first person, there's a first person story of this is my disabled experience, right? My disabled lived experience first person, and then there's my parents. When I was growing up younger, they could say, well, we have secondhand experience with a disability because our son is disabled, right? So that they can say we have secondhand knowledge of that experience. And then there's others that are just friends of friends, and they can say, well, we have third hand knowledge. We have third hand knowledge of the lived experience because we have a friend of a friend that has this, right? And I think it's important to qualify and realize that the best people that have the most knowledge of that lived experience is going back to the first person again, like the actual person that has the lived experience, like trust that.
But
And
I
I
also
mean,
learned it in
yeah.
therapy. The amount of years I did cognitive behavior therapy and rehab and recovery and 12-step programs, they make you take full responsibility of your ish,
Oh yeah.
whatever it is. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, great. I'm on a system that causes all these problems, but they're out of my control. So I need to focus on everything that's in my control. Once I figure out everything in my control, then I can break down who needs to help me where. Like when I did my colonoscopy appointment, I had to hire a PSW to take me home from the appointment. Yes, my family, I told them, hey, can you help me with this? They're like, oh, we'll help you. But they also work 40, 50 hours a week. So when was that possible for them to do it? So then I just tell them, hey, you guys work 90 hours a week. Can you give me your 1 day work of pay to pay for my PSW? That's what they did. So they end up paying for the PSW. They end up paying for the CPAP machine because I had to literally show them the facts. They cannot help me because your resources are over here. Great. I filled out every form, every paperwork that the doctor is supposed to fill out to get my medical assistant, everything for the CPAP machine, my compression socks, everything. Doctor filled out her form. Then I have to find an authorized dealer to give me the CPAP machine and my compression socks. I found a miserable old lady selling my compression socks. I don't like her, but she knows how to fill out the form and get what I need from ODSP. So I'm going to go there and go get my compression socks. The CPAP machine, that lady's way nicer. I only have to see her once every 5 years. I also asked her if I have the money to buy my CPAP machine in 5 years, can I buy it on my own? She said yes. Every time I get my prescriptions delivered by FedEx and Shoppers Drug Mart, I ask them, how much does this cost? Can I buy it on my own? And I plan to do it. Like Therapy, if you're able to access therapy. Now, that is a whole different discussion of why we can't access mental health, because we need our mindset good to change our habits and belief systems to actually tackle all these issues. They don't happen if you don't have a good worth of yourself, or self-esteem of yourself, or self-image. That is the hardest part. And that took the longest for me to fix. Once it's there and I did reinforce it. I met Tony Robbins this year. You
Oh,
do realize
wow.
that? I met
Oh,
Tony
yeah.
Robbins, big man Tony Robbins around the world.
Hmm.
And I
How
told
old
him
is
what
he?
my problem
How old is
Oh,
he
yeah.
now? How old
He's
is he
like
now?
60. But the
Okay.
point
Oh.
is, his coaching philosophy does not have you sit around and be a victim. It doesn't. There's no room for it at all. And culturally, being Caribbean, African, and Haitian, we don't have it. It's not built in our cultural DNA. It's literally not built in it. Like the amount of disability organizations that for the Black community that do not get government funding. That means I need to support my community. My community is not supported. You know how many times I've been in a disability group that's mostly white that doesn't understand the Black issues that happen in the disability community that's happening?
Mhm.
And it's not talked about because Canada doesn't do race-based studies.
Yeah.
Here's a good question for basically what to look at for 2025 is, where do we see governments? Now, we know that there could be a possible federal election very, very soon in 2025.
Bye,
So
Justin.
Yeah, see you later. Don't come back.
I'll start with you, Joseph, first on that one.
Joseph's not here right now.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
you are
here.
here. Okay.
Where
Oh,
do you,
yeah.
where do you see things at? I mean, there's a lot of turmoil. I mean, you hear social media, news hour. Of course, they're going to spin it out there, this and that, right? But
So
Yeah.
we're heading for an election. It's not looking good for Justin Trudeau right now. It really isn't. He's in practically last place. I mean, if the Green Party had more well-known MPs, they would have a higher seat standing than the Liberals right now. Okay. So the Canada Disability Benefit's going to come out in July, just like everybody else knows. It's probably going to be the exact same amount because the fall economic statement did quote $200 a month in their budget, and they did not increase it. They did not ask for any more money. They touted that it's tax free, but you guys see my posts on X, and what did I say? I said it's going to be tax free anyways. Come on, you're giving it to people that are $30,000 or less income for individuals. I think it was like 40 something $1,000 or something for couples. I don't have the exact figures in
Almost
front of
everything
me.
across the country keeps people's assets below $150,000 and
I'm
income
not
below
talking about assets. I'm
$50,000.
talking about the
The
income
general rule of
required for the year
disability,
for taxes.
the general rule of disability criteria of all of them, they all keep them below that number. Every one of them, they keep them below that number.
Yeah, I'm talking about the taxable amount. They just said in the fall economic statement they're going to make the Canada Disability Benefit non-taxable. That is because they want to prevent it from being clawed back from other federal benefits. I get that. But my point is that they didn't budget any more cost for the Canada Disability Benefit because when you're only giving it to 600,000 people and most of them are going to be under the income tax exemption limit for their family size, it doesn't matter.
Let's remind people what the original targets were, Joseph,
You
of
asked me.
of the number of people that was going to help originally the CBD.
original.
What was the original
Minnie,
number?
I don't mean to be upset. Okay, I just
Yeah,
want to
no,
say
it's
this for the
fine.
record. I don't mean to be upset
Yeah.
with Minnie at all. It's
Yeah.
just that I understand where you're coming from, and that they got to work and make themselves better, and they can if they actually just go and take the steps. I get that. I'm a staffing specialist. I send people to work in an entry level position, and I have people with disabilities all the time asking me for jobs. And unfortunately, because of the job requirements of my job that I offer, which is one job category specifically only, not general labor, not go push a broom, not do general housekeeping, not anything like that. This is a very, very targeted job that I send people to work for. Okay. And when I do that, it's an entry level job into film, yes, but you have to have certain abilities. You need to be able to dart 150 meters down the street to go talk to somebody in a moment's notice. You can't do that if you're in a wheelchair. I'm just being honest. And there are certain aspects of the job that they could do, but then maybe I'm sending them to work 5 days a year
Yeah.
Right.
for the amount of
Mhm.
times that actually happens within that
Oh,
inclusion, like within that one part where I can be accessible, I can target the job to that person. In most cases, it happens 4 or 5 times a year.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you need to have certain job capabilities, and otherwise, I would send a lot more people to work from this
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
I most definitely would. Okay, and you know, Brent, and you know, Neil, the job category that I'm talking about
Yep.
and
Yep.
what I send them to do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you can understand where
Mhm.
there's certain, you know,
yeah.
confidentiality matters and certain ability matters and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to say that in my job category, they spend millions and millions of dollars a year
Mhm.
employing people in that job category.
Yes.
And I can't even get people with disabilities into it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Okay. So when we sit there and say you need to be accessible, you can just go create your own business. Yeah, you can go create your own business. There's hundreds of thousands of businesses in Canada. It does not mean that you're going to make a full-time wage and you're going to survive.
Yeah.
It means that you have to have the social supports and the minimum income so that way people can survive and better themselves instead of, oh, I desperately need $3,000 this month just to pay my rent
Mhm.
hmm
and to eat one meal a day because my children are going to eat 3 meals a day. We need to do better because the government of today listens to a person and people instead of a person. And by this, what I mean is that they don't listen to the disabled person that says, if I have more money, my landlord is more secure. My local shop is selling me fresh fruits and vegetables.
Mm.
I'm going to go spend money at that Tim Hortons that gives students jobs.
Mhm.
I'm going to go to the clothing store down the street that's a small business instead of Walmart to buy a $7 t-shirt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
We need our government to wake up and realize that if you ensure that a person or a family has a minimum income, which is a conservative way of thinking, it's not a liberal way of thinking. The liberals did it to kiss ass, and they threw it in their liberal convention. Just the same thing as basic incomes, threw it in their liberal convention, and did nothing about it.
Yeah.
They
Or-
canceled their own bill without even listening to the PBO's report, which never came. The requested report of 2024 never came,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Very
at least not publicly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I
Rant over. Sorry.
haven't really talked about what I kind of expect for 2025, and I just wanted to quickly, you saw the email that I just sent, Brent, about the club.
Oh, yes, I saw that. It was
It's the first.
drafted too, by the way.
It's the first email that I've literally sent the government in a year, right? I really scaled back my emails now. I don't send a lot of angry emails because I figure, like, what's the point? But
It goes to deaf ears anyway.
but this year in 2025, I've kind of resolved myself now. This year in 2025 is going to be the year that, whether it's going to be just me or a group of people like me, I am like so convinced that I am going to be part of the push to reverse the clawback, because this is just, it's getting ridiculous. Why I sent the email again about the PWD clawback is, I put it out there. I sent it to the BC Human Rights Tribunal. I sent it to our BC Human Rights Commissioner. I sent it to Premier David Eby. I sent it to Sheila Malcolmson, our Minister of Social Development. And most importantly, I sent it to our ombudsman office, and I actually called them, and I just called them before the podcast. I let them know, because I actually dealt with them 7 years ago. Remember when there was a changeover between BC Liberals and NDP?
Yeah.
And you and I both remember, Brent, the NDP platformed or campaigned on the idea that they're going to end the clawback, right?
Yeah, I remember.
That was a whole big push. So
I never know where things are at on that one.
back when I was dealing with the ombudsman office, then they said, "Well, why don't we just wait and see what happens?" So again, this was 7 years ago. They said, "Why don't we just wait and see what happens and see if the government does end the clawback?" And of course, 7 years later, they haven't. So I've circled back to them, and I've let them know I'm pushing the red button again, and I want to involve them. And so I put the call in this morning just before the show, and I've given them my details. So right now I'm weaponized. I'm weaponized, and they're aware of me again now.
Yeah,
And
you've got all the
and
right
you
there.
know, yeah, and I'm just gonna cause
One thing
cause a
I've learned,
big
Neil, is to
yeah.
never stand down about advocacy. I always that's one thing that one of my instructors in college taught me. Brent, never stand down, stand up for always what you believe in. Keep pushing, push for better, push for more excellence, push yourself to know that your inner attributes shine bright, and you will glow. You will proceed going forward. Whatever the ability you have, you will blossom with whatever that may be. And I always remember that. But they said never doubt yourself. Always push yourself forward. And I mean, I was really taught that a lot, is to build up self-confidence in myself. I've learned that over advocacy. Yeah, I mean, I still learn from everybody. I mean, there's the things that I don't know, but learning maybe different ways of looking at things, and kind of working with people of hey, that maybe this is what's going to work better, and bringing more people together, and that's how I see 2025 is to keep the ammo, get more ammo built up, get more people onto the podcast. I mean, have all of you come onto the podcast, and grow the podcast even more, and bring it to a bigger entity of either an organization, if that's what we're going to do, and blossom of different ideas of saying, okay, like, you're good at this, you're good at that, you're good at that, and then we can blossom together and all our ideas to come.
That's another thing I wanted to say, Brent. Like we've already been on almost for an hour and a half, so maybe we can close up the show. But I did want to say, as a kind of an open comment to everybody, just before we end the podcast, is one of our goals coming into 2025 is to really, like I got to the first tier of monetization, and like that's great. I mean, I want to push for tier 2. That'd be even better. But so we hit tier 1, but more than anything, what I would like to stress, with everybody is, even if there is nobody that can help us financially, even if you just share out these podcasts and like and leave comments, all of that pushes the narrative forward so much. So even if you're saying, well, I can't afford to donate because I'm living in legislative poverty like everybody else is, so I can't afford to donate, and that's fine. But you know what? If you like and leave a comment and share the stuff out, that grows the advocacy so much, just doing that. So yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Quickly.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joseph. Sorry.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Neil, for your upcoming broadcasts with Brent here, if you guys have PayPal, perhaps get the QR code and start putting it your broadcast in one of your windows, so that way people can scan the QR code and donate for you.
Okay.
I'll check with you about that later. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I think I see for 2025, like right now, I'm helping a group, mutual aid. I advocate for them, and on the side, she's always like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "Oh, I ate twice this week. I'm good." She'll like throw me $60 or whatever. But she's helped me with the kids' Christmases for the past like 2-3 years. She's really been an angel, and mutual aid has helped us quite a bit. So I want to give a shout out to them.
One thing
I also want to become a bigger advocate and just
Mhm.
fight like hell to get what we can deserve for
Mm.
once. We
Yep.
deserve to be able to like be human. We deserve to be treated like humans and not like I, I'm sorry, not like third class citizens. Because right now I know that there are people in hotels getting $9,000 a month per person, not as a family unit, but
Ooh.
per person. They're taking baby bonus. They're getting all of our basic stuff. So why can't we just half that even and like give half of that to the disabled people instead of just giving $9,000 to an illegal immigrant who doesn't deserve to be here?
I've got some of them who live upstairs above me.
I've got one above me too. Don't worry
Look,
about it.
I got
Well,
two.
that's a whole other podcast.
That's another show in
but
itself.
here, my family are immigrants. So every time we talk about it,
Yeah.
it rubs me the wrong way.
No,
Okay.
no. This is in a different situation, but yeah.
I know it is.
Yeah.
But unless you live in that household, you have no idea what's happening with them at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So speak from your own experience, speak from your own challenges, speak from what's happening with you. I don't speak in the general population of people with a disability. I know my disability. I know how my family treats me. I know what happens. I know the nonsense my family says that I ignore. And then I'm a family of fucking immigrants.
Mhm.
They bust their ass to come to this country, had me, and then I'm with the disability. So when you're going on about immigrants or this and immigrants or that, it does not matter. You don't live there.
No,
You
I
don't.
love immigrants. Just hold up a minute. Don't
Yeah.
call me a racist because I'm Native
I'm
American.
not. I'm
So
not. But
literally, I'm not.
I'm not.
It's
I'm just
just the
saying,
ones
like, you
causing
can't
problems
generalize a
in the
whole
country.
population of
Okay,
people because you're upset
let's
of your
calm down.
situation.
Calm down. Okay,
For me, it's just the ones who are here illegally, doing bad things, and saying death to Canadians. Those
Yeah.
are the ones that need to go. Death to Canada? What? We just saved your ass, supposedly. What do you mean death to Canada? No. No, the immigrants I love are the ones that want to amalgamate with us and share their culture with us, as well as we share ours. That's the way it's supposed to be. When you move to another country, you're not supposed to say, "Well, this is my values. This is the way I live," and tough tits if you don't like it. No, that's not the way it's supposed to go. You're supposed to be like, "Okay, that's your culture. That's cool.
Just
This is part of mine."
for
We're
a
And
on.
history
share
lesson
with
here.
one another.
We're
Just for a
on a
quick
whole.
history lesson.
Yeah,
We're on a whole
Yeah,
other
it's
podcast now, Brent.
No,
I think
it's
we
just
should.
like I'm
let's
not,
just stay
it's
focused on
Yeah.
but I know
humility.
exactly
Thank
why I'm
humility
upset about
for
it.
addressing
I
this
know
because I feel the same
exactly
way.
why.
Yeah.
And it's not helping anything. Like Race and
Yeah.
Disability Canada, they need their funding. They're helping people with a disability over in other countries. They're helping the BIPOC community for people with a disability. Majority of them are immigrants. Majority of their family are immigrants. Majority of them are barely getting jobs. Majority of them also have their disability. They're not getting ODSP. They're not getting OW. They're not getting things. So they access other funding until they're actually have their permanent resident status. Then a SHAFE Community Foundation for Black Disabled Canadians. Like you're literally like targeting the Black identity that I have as a person with a disability. And I'm not going to sit here and listen to it. I'm not, because that's a whole demographic of population with a disability that doesn't speak here. They don't speak here because they're living in their cultural backgrounds, trying to access something in a country that doesn't want them to because of where they come from. So no, we're not going to have that discussion. We're not going to promote that propaganda of any of it unless you physically live in that environment. You have no business talking about it. I physically live in those environments. I'm physically trying to get people to recognize my intersectional identity of being a woman of color who has a disability, who gets treated like crap at the doctor's office because they're all freaking white. And I'm trying to make sure that I get the things I need to support my disability as a Black woman, period, full stop, end of story.
Thank you
And
for
with me
speaking for my
volunteering in
daughter
all these
and son.
organizations that separate my identity in 3 different parts, I don't get the holistic care that I need.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah, Minnie, thank you. You're speaking for my daughter and my son. Like I really get ired when people talk about immigrants in any way because it's not their story. And I think as people with disabilities, we all have different we have different disabilities that are affecting us in different ways, and we have intersections of our other aspects of our life. And to speak negatively about one is just it just does so much damage. My daughter, her mom is Trinidadian immigrant. My daughter experiences such challenges because she's both black and not black. She's white and not white. And she's large, and doctors do not listen to her. And she has more challenges with the healthcare system than I do, even though we face the same exact health issues. And it is damaging when we disparage people who are living in a more challenged life than we are in ways that we can't understand. So thank you, Minnie. Thank you, Minnie, for speaking up. We need to hear this so that we we stay in our lanes a bit and learn and listen instead of speaking.
Yeah. And maybe this is something that we can actually devote a whole podcast to. I mean, if honestly, like we were going to just about punch out, but I mean, I'm serious. If people want to revisit this particular topic, we can. But
There is a real
Well, if we're going to
there's a real
revisit this
financial impact about not talking about it. I mean, like we should talk about this in another future podcast because yes, it immigration plays a huge part in the demographic of Canada, not only in culture, but also in experience, in identity, in it speaks loads about innovation in our society. Canada was built on immigration. Unless you are a native that was, ancestrally here back in the 1700s, shut up. We're all immigrants somewhere down the line. I'm a second generation immigrant. My father was on a boat that came from Holland after the Second World War. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Canada standing up in the Second World War.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says
I can
for history showed that I was Irish and it was part of Scottish too, and so it goes
Scottish here,
and ancestries way back and
Indian, African, Chinese, British,
when
Irish.
I mentioned that
all of them,
the immigrants anything that I just said they're upstairs and all I say
bad by it, yo.
my last job.
I honestly didn't mean anything bad by the
No,
immigration. It's just it's out of control for now until we get housing built. Enough housing built to bring them in. Let's not put them on the streets again. Let's bring them into a country that has a home for them.
See here
you're also facing the dangerous aspect of if you depopulate by lowering immigration too much, you risk after building all these homes not having enough people to live in them.
Yeah.
Japan right now has controlled their population so bad. China controlled their population so bad that their population's falling down.
Yeah.
So great. All my aunts and uncles have their babies. I'm not having any children. I'm physically not having any children. That means the whole generational population dies with me when I stop at it. And then my assets being built, who do I leave it to? What generation do I leave it to? My blood family that I don't like, that don't recognize my disability, or do I leave it to a charity organization? And if the charity organization is not going to support BIPOC people, I'm not going to give them my money. You do realize that, right? I'm born here. I'm physically born here. And then my family came here in the 70s with their hard work, with their grit, telling me that I have to do this, like that. So if we don't have remember, you don't have oxtail because of us. Oxtail is expensive because of us. So culturally, your food that you're eating that you don't have at the food bank is because of us. You do realize that when people go to a food bank, they're looking for culturally diverse food in a food bank. It's not happening.
I agree with that one. I know that.
And this is why I believe that the answer is to be able to go and give the people enough money to be able to afford the food that is the food that
Instead
they
of giving
want.
it to the food bank.
Well, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're going basically, like we said earlier in the program, they're basically giving the stuff that's like a day or two away from being expired, and then they rush to give it out. And at that point that of expiry, it's mostly already nutritionally defunct anyways. So, I mean, this is where, like, we've created this cycle of poverty to make things worse. And this is, you know, I mean, this is where, to me, when I take a look at all of this stuff from disability to seniors, and then because as you get older, you're going to get more disabled. And, you know, and if you're not disabled, and by the time you become a senior, well, you're going to get disabled sooner than later.
There's certain disabilities that are culturally affect certain populations more
Exactly.
than others.
There's certain
Yeah.
There's certain populations that affect. I'll say it. There's diseases that affect Jewish people that don't affect other people that are not Jewish. There's ones that affect black people that are from certain groups of ethnicities, and not others that are still black. Right. This is the thing that a lot of people don't understand about these diseases that crop up as you get older. Is there's a lot of things that are involved here, and I think the bigger problem that we're facing is that, you know, we can't come from anything from a hateful point of view. We have to go and be honest about being, you know, kindness. And this is why when I talked about the idea of UABI, it's saying, here, do what's best for you, right? Don't sit here and dictate to these people.
Well,
Give
I think
the hand up to make the decision best for them.
And I think that's part of the problem, MJ. I mean, I was going to reference this earlier because I think Brent made a comment. But you know the Spider-Man meme. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of Spider-Man. And there's the finger pointing Spider-Man. There's 6 Spider-Mans, and they're all pointing. I think that's the problem, is that you have governments that are all pointing fingers at each other. They're saying, "Well, you do it, you do it, you do it."
Right.
And you know.
And meanwhile, if people, like, for example, the BIPOC community that have culturally diverse food, if they had more availability of money, like the people that are lower incomes, to be able to go out and eat in those places, those places would in turn have more employment, which then in turn would help that community more, which then in turn would
As long as they're not
decrease.
Sunrise Caribbean restaurant not paying their people, because that restaurant.
What I'm saying is they would be able to have more people work there. If they sold more product, they have more people work there. They have more people working there. That means that those people are no longer working in a different industry that they don't want to be in.
See, and
then if you think in the bigger terms of it all, and I'm just being honest, a lot of people and a lot of hate online are things like, a lot of multiculturalism is inside of, like, Tim Hortons nowadays with employment. And they sit there and they blame DEIP for it. But in reality, if there was a more robust society financially, where they'd be able to go out and eat at their own restaurants, more of them would be working in their restaurants, which then in turn would open up job opportunities for the people that are sitting there blaming the system that they don't have jobs.
Well, part of the problem
I'm trying not to be racist here. I'm trying not to be racist.
Part of the problem
is say, like,
part of the problem here, let's be honest.
Like, we're diverse for a reason. Like,
I know we're diverse for a reason, but what I'm saying is
the way that
it would help.
We still have the temporary foreign worker problem of these people, of the government bringing in people for minimum wage
but culturally,
jobs.
My family is built to come to Canada because it's a better opportunity. Like, we're built to go to UK, it's a better opportunity. We're built to go to America, it's a better opportunity. And then, as we're built to go to these other countries for better opportunity, we're programmed in to send money back home. So we're going to take any job possible. We're going to take any job available possible wherever it is, so we could send money back home. Some of us are sending money back home that we're not eating here. You do realize that's how that culturally is built.
And there is a work ethic issue.
And you
we're
say
literally
that
conditioned that half my paycheck goes to my grandma.
Or
it goes back home to my cousins.
That was the last job I did. It was driving a truck from farm to farm with all the temporary foreign workers. They come in, they buy
and
their
then all
groceries.
my uncles that have cancer from working on the farms, they came here to work on the farm. They all have cancer right now.
What you just said, Minnie, I mean, it strikes with me too, because my current wife, she came from the Philippines about 7 years ago, and And she came to Canada for a better life, right? Because everybody kind of knows, like,
Mhm.
if you want to have a better life, you come to Canada. So she was able to hop on a plane and come to Canada, and
Hmm.
and
And
she met
Philippines
me.
send the most money back home at all the
Yeah,
stats at Western Union.
that's what I was gonna say. Is
Yeah.
the people from the Philippines, they send every
Yeah.
cent that they make, they send it all back home. They send it all back home. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I've learned too. I have like a lot of different neighbors around that are diverse, of different cultures. I mean, so many like really awesome, nice people. And they just want to have a better way of life in Canada. And I just think that it's just like there's not enough housing has been built, and then people are scrambling around, going, well, these are my neighbors, and this and it's just the system has been delayed in getting housing built, like through CMHC. There's a damning report through CMHC that is the terminology that's written there, allowing the affordability wording it to be misconstrued, where it needs to be changed, the language. And there's MPs that are working with that, but so far it's not it's not going so well.
And
But
then the
trying to
amount of
change.
them that are diagnosed with their disability in their country and then come here for
Yep.
healthcare.
Yeah,
That's my MS group right now.
yeah,
She's diagnosed in Chile. She's in Canada now.
Mhm.
And 2 million people have multiple sclerosis. Most of them are
Right.
coming here for the treatments because they don't actually have the treatments they have in their countries.
yeah.
So they're
And
coming
if
here for the
50
treatments.
Yeah, and less than 35, 40 years ago, you weren't allowed to do that,
I know.
right? You weren't allowed to come here to access our medical system to go and get health care, right? That was, unless you're willing to go and pay.
Mhm.
And
That was what the OHIP card was for.
right,
Wasn't
this is right. This is why they created the cards that we have, it's for the free health care. So, I mean, to me, there's multiple problems. And one of the problems we do face is we have the temporary foreign worker program where these people are guaranteed X amount of hours to work, right? When they're here. And they're guaranteed above minimum wage, which they're getting paid above minimum wage. And what's happening is while these people are here, consequently, Canadians are starting to go and find that when they're looking for a minimum wage job, they're not able to go and get a full-time job or a part-time job or any job of consequential matter because guess what? That job's being taken over by a temporary foreign worker. Now it's not. This isn't.
Yeah,
this is
but
government
we
policy.
have to acknowledge one thing. No offense. Tim Hortons is corporate. They pay somebody to go apply for that foreign temporary worker status. It's up to small businesses to actually take that step and
COVID kills
apply
small
to hire
businesses.
them. Otherwise, you're going to see them all in Tim Hortons and everywhere else because those corporate entities are the ones that are taking advantage of a program that is available.
You know what?
Exactly.
I noticed.
I'm
Where you don't see them working is at Costco. For whatever reason, Costco doesn't seem to be hiring temporary foreign workers.
But one thing you'll notice at Costco, though,
But
because
Costco's
I
on
go
Instacart.
there,
So
the
if
one
they're
thing
not
I
working
noticed,
directly at Costco, they're directly working at the Instacart to do Costco.
Yeah, it's
no. Up here, one thing I noticed with Costco is that all of their employees are over 10 years.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Plus,
that's true.
they're
A lot
also
They
of them are
are a
happy.
long time
Plus,
employer.
They're happy.
They are
They're
not
happy where
quick
they work.
turnaround employers.
Plus, you have to remember Costco is a union environment, which means they have protectionist rules precisely against temporary foreign workers. Now, and there are some unions that are that protectionist.
One thing that I did notice, and I wanted you guys to view before we sign off for the day. I mean, we'll talk for a few more minutes, but now a lot of grocery stores they have big cages there where customers come by and they donate food into the big cage. Now it's been brought to my attention from one of my local grocery stores. Now I'm not sure if they can do this or not. The grocery stores are now, they get in their management, they come by and they count how many items are in that bin and they mark it off as a business write-off on their taxes. Meanwhile, it was the customer who put the groceries in
But
there.
I said that by getting gift cards from charity organizations
and
this
then they
year.
write it
I
off,
literally
and then
don't refuse. I refuse to accept their gift cards.
Yeah.
I heard about this from one of my neighbors. I said, what? I said, yeah. And they're like, yeah, the manager actually was there counting how many items, and then they're saying, okay, well, I guess we could just do it as a write-off
Because
because
every time No Frills does a promotion right now,
yeah.
they're giving you stamps to buy some utility
Pots and pans or something.
sets.
Yeah.
Now,
So it's like they're
to-
charging for
to-
that item, but now they're trying to rescore on that item.
But
oh my,
that may just be a rumor. That could just be an opinion, Brent. I mean,
Maybe.
that manager also could be inventorying that because somebody called saying, "Hey, do I have enough to come over there and pick it up,
That's
or is
what
it
I'm
not worth my time to come and pick it up yet?"
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because
Some charities
that could
this time of the year, they do that. They go, "Wait a second, I don't want to show up unless I'm getting an actual van full. Otherwise, you're going to have an empty bin for another 5 items to be there for me to go pick up later.
Yeah.
I want a full bin so that way I have the money's worth," because a lot of charities are watching their dollars right now. And I mean, that new announcement came out today. Have you followed up about that, about the charities?
No.
They just announced today that they're going to introduce legislation as soon as they return to the House to extend charity donations for the next couple of months because of the postal strike and all that, because a lot of charities didn't make their Christmas donations.
Oh,
So
okay.
here's the thing. So they're basically gonna say, what, you're allowed to donate till February, and then you can use all those tax receipts for the previous year. That's going to change donation dollars for
But they already
2025.
roll over
Yeah.
as it is. You know how much rollover I had for charities in my taxes right now every time I do my taxes? Because I'm self-employed, there's no low-income clinic for self-employment. So I have to pay to do my taxes because I'm self-employed. And all my rollover in there that my accountant reminds me, you have this rollover, you have every roll, I have education rollover, I have donation rollover, I have RSP rollover. All my rollovers are collecting until my income is higher. And then if I was married, that rollover would go to my spouse. But I'm not married, so I'm single, and all my rollover is collecting. So the way that they reduce the tax break of only certain items you're shopping right now till February. And then the Canada Post strike ruined a lot of things for a lot of people for those 3 months that they were on strike. So they're going to catch up on deliveries, then they have to catch up on donations, then they'll catch up on something else. And depending on what they decide in Parliament, so that the rich people get to donate their stuff to lower their tax bracket, they will.
Do you know the song, Minnie? Do you know the childhood song? There were 4 in the bed, and the little one said, roll over," and they all rolled over, and one fell out. Did you know that one? I
Yes,
just
and
wanted, I just wanted to end on a song.
The last one in the bed said good night. So
Oh,
I'm
the last
waiting
one
for the
said
good night.
There you go. I just wanted to end on a song. That's all.
but Joseph, you make a good point on that. Yeah, when I see the neighbor, I'm going to mention that too, because I mean that's a huge bad rumor of of a management company doing something like that, because that'd be pretty scrupulous to do, saying, well, hey, I'm gonna write the same stuff
And
off.
each of the grocery stores, they're independent business owners.
Yeah,
So
they are.
They're franchising, they're following corporate, then they have their own deals for
Yep,
the
they gotta be
independent
careful.
location. So
Yeah.
yes, corporate wise, we don't like the fresh code, we don't like the no frills, we don't, and they're all owned by the same people anyway.
Yeah,
And then Starbucks and everybody, like corporate wise, are doing stuff that we don't like. But individual store owners that open that franchise,
Yeah.
they're making sure that they make payroll for everybody in there.
Oh yeah, they have to.
they're doing it all for 2 or 3%. That's it.
Yeah, I know, and it's not a huge profit margin there. It's some of them are really scraping by, especially on taxes. I mean, property taxes, employee wages, health insurance,
Yep.
stuff. And I mean,
Yeah, but on some of those independent grocers though that are underneath like a banner, even though they're just franchisees, they would probably right now be in a lot worse of a place if they didn't have that corporate structure for advertising, or sales and bargaining for better deals with suppliers and stuff like that. Our entire grocery sector is really hurting, and it's things like, no offense, but like it's really idiotic things like getting rid of plastic bags. I'm just being honest. It actually lowered the amount of sales that Canadians do in store, because you show up to a convenience store and they're like, yeah, sorry, I don't have paper, I don't have a plastic bag, I don't have paper bags. You walk out with your 4-liter bag of milk and nothing else in your hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't carry
Or
anything
the
else.
produce
Yeah.
bags. People are doubling up on the produce bags.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I see
Remember,
it all the time
Those
here.
bags are
And
so thin, like on Home Alone, they'll break. That is
remember,
for any
My
dog
point
owners
is
out
when you
there,
don't have
yeah.
them, when you don't have them in front of you, or you don't have them
Yeah.
with you. A lot of people don't have a vehicle where they're storing their bags in their vehicle to go shopping or whatever. They go and they stop at the grocery store on the way home, and they go, "Okay, I can carry 2, 3 things home. I'm not going to go and buy an extra bag to waste
Oh
the
yeah,
environment. You're trying to tell me not to use a plastic bag
yeah.
that I was going to use and then put in my recycling later anyways."
exactly.
And remember the restaurants, Brent, when you could go to like I don't know, like McDonald's and that, and
Oh,
they give you like 15 ketchups in the bottom of the bag. And
oh yeah.
now you go to a restaurant
You have to ask.
You have to
you
ask.
have to ask,
And half the time they don't give it to you.
and they're like, it's like 25 cents per packet of ketchup
Yeah.
now.
Or hey Joseph, can I get a napkin? Oh, it's not in the bag. Oh, can I get a ketchup?
Yeah, right.
They give you one ketchup. Well,
Yeah.
can I get 2 napkins? I mean,
Give you a
please.
I
squirt.
walked,
One
I walked
napkin.
into the pizza store the
One.
other day and I bought a medium pizza for $9. I think it was on sale for, and it was normally like a $14 pizza, but they had a sale on, right? So
Yeah.
it's $9 for the pizza, and I'm like, yeah, sure. And I show up, and I like it because it's this one that has sesame seeds all over the crust and stuff like that. So it's like a nice pizza, right? And I go to pick it up, and they gave me one napkin for a medium pizza.
Joseph, so you work with an employment agency. I have a question. Agency. You know how
It's
ODSP has employment supports, and then there's a
yes,
certain quota for how much of employment supports from ODSP is supposed to be in a job? Are you dealing with that caseload or not?
no. Like I said, we have a very specific job category. I'm not an employment agency. We are a specific company that is targeted to hire for one job category only.
Mhm.
It's not like you show up to People Ready and they have multiple clients that they send you to. We are not considered a staffing agency. We are a specific company that gets people into one specific job category that is unionized. But because of the logistics of that category, and because it's not really a union, it's a guild, they're
Right.
not allowed to do the hiring themselves. It's
Okay.
against their constitution. So they have a vendor that goes out and does this hiring specifically for that job category only. And I have it basically the job goes like this. Hi, would you like to go to work tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in downtown Toronto? And you live in, say, Barrie. And you're like, no, I can't go to work there. Okay, sorry. Okay. It's not like I have a job in Barrie for you. It's not like I have a job that's within your time schedule or within your availability or within your capabilities either. I hope that clarifies a little bit, Minnie.
It does. It does because it sounds like the same thing.
You have Twitter, right?
I do.
I don't know if we follow each other or not, but we should.
Might.
And then we can converse and I'll let you know what kind of job it is. And then you'll understand why.
No, it sounds exactly with the actors. So I connect with the actor community. They have that same problem. Like
it
they're
is
trying
film
to
and television.
balance. They're trying to balance
It
being
is
a
film and
performer.
television, but it's a specific job category in film and television that's not in front of the camera; it's behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that just causes more of the systemic problem.
Yeah.
It kind of does, but at the same time, this
agree.
job category literally starts 1,000 people in employment a year.
I know they park their trucks
That's not
outside my
bad.
building every year. So I see their trucks
So
parked
you know the
every
people who
year.
watch those trucks?
Is it
You know
your
the people who
agency
watch
trying
those
to watch
trucks and
the
do the
trucks
parking?
outside my building?
Either watching the trucks or we're the ones clearing the parking for those trucks. We're the ones that will facilitate like the parking, deal with the neighborhood. We deal with permits. We deal with picking up garbage. Basically, kind of. Do you know what I mean? But like at the same time, that person needs to be able to run down the block, at a nice breakneck speed, to go stop somebody, that's going to be driving into the set,
What,
or
what if I had a really fast mobility scooter, Joseph? Would you hire me then?
I wish I could.
But you're only allowed to have
them
half
set
a
up the
mobility
trucks
scooter.
here, it's a lot
know
of
that
physical
there,
labor
Neil,
I've seen.
you know
They
that.
set up the trucks.
Yeah,
I
they
know
make
that.
the
That's
cones
true.
I
down.
don't know if you could throw 50 cones over top of your
It's a lot of
scooter's,
cones, it's a lot
shoulder.
of cables, it's a lot of trailers being heated. It's a lot
lot
of
of
physical labor that's
tripping.
happening in
Yeah.
between low income apartment buildings. Like one of them is flooded from the flood we had, and they're
Mhm.
still renovating that building. While my building does extra inspections every year, they double up at inspections. And then because it's rent control, this unit, and I've been here since 2007, paying $900 in the new year, they want me out. They're trying to find a reason to get me out. But the neighborhood itself, because it's across the cemetery and the movie trucks are always outside the building from spring until November, they take up all the parking. So then our building is trying to figure out where do you park. And when I see them out there either loading the truck or unloading the truck, it's a lot of physical labor.
When this
And then
baby hits
the
the
way that they
pavement,
post their signs in my building of what they're filming and when they're filming and how long they're filming, I know it's a lot. And it's been here since I've been here, of just the trucks are just here. And then the trucks are
Yeah.
here for almost 6 months. And then now
Yeah.
that I connected with the Actors Foundation, because they had open peer support groups, and some of them they're actors, but they're on ODSP, or they're actors and their children on ODSP. So they're already low income because the actor industry doesn't give them consistent work all the time, but they
No,
have to be
I had
available.
in
And
one
then
year I had
their
54
household
employers in
income
1
is
year.
not able to
Oh, wow.
make the income it needs because the family member or them is on social assistance.
I had 54 employers in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
That's
Wow.
Gig work.
a
Gig
lot.
work.
that is a lot.
54
Gig
in
work.
1 year. That's
Yeah.
more than one a week.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Great.
a lot.
Yeah.
Because every show, every TV show, every season, right? Every commercial, whatever, is its own employer.
Oh my.
So, like when they go and they film a TV series, and then when they're done filming that season, they lay everybody off, and then they close down the business. And then the next season, they register another company. So you're not consistently employed. You are a gig worker, and it is up to you to be your own employer. And that's where you end up paying more costs because you have to pay the extra taxes, the extra benefits. You have to take care of yourself.
That's
And
something.
a lot of people don't make it.
That's something that Tom says all the time is the gig economy, right? He
It is.
always mentions the gig economy all the time. Yeah.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
The performing arts and the gig economy, like the Rover app and the gig apps, they're completely different. They run completely different. That I know.
Yeah, but now we have certain laws. Like there's certain laws coming out now. Like there's the Digital Workers Act, where Uber is all of a sudden now classified as an actual employer. Where they were saying, oh no, they were their own individual companies. They all worked for themselves. They were all self-employed. No. You are the employer because you're their main source of income. And so like there's certain protections coming out there, but we could see a lot of those protections being rolled back in this new government coming up. And that's what I'm worried about. How much is Pierre going to tear apart the gig economy to increase the employment numbers of full-time employment through employers?
See, there's only so much that he can actually do.
That's the irony of it all.
Right. I mean, I've listened to people say, well, I hope he doesn't go and repeal this and hope he doesn't repeal that and doesn't, but there's a lot of things that have been settled by Supreme Court decisions because I have been talking to, I do talk to a lot of people. And what I've learned is it doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what he thinks. When the Supreme Court makes a ruling, tough patooties. Unless you're going to go and fight the Supreme Court, good luck. Because
they forget that he can talk all he wants about all the ideas he has, but he only has like a 4-year window to execute 2 things, 3 things if he's lucky.
Actually, more like 3 years, especially if it becomes a lame duck government of going from a super majority to non-favorable can be very detrimental within 4 years. Because if he cuts way too much too fast, he may become the next
Trudeau.
Mike Harris.
Yeah.
He might
Yeah.
become the next,
Oh,
you
no,
know.
no.
And then with
Well,
my
Mike Harris-
freelance work,
that was
I
bad
make
enough.
US dollars and I have to convert it to Canadian and file my taxes twice. I have to fill out W-8BE and tax form in the United States. Then I have to fill out tax form T2125 in Canada and then report it to disability and then let them figure it out because I'm not going to explain it to them because they can read my profit and loss statement. And then with the dollar being the way it is, the US dollar to Canadian dollar, I'm better off to make my American money versus my Canadian money. So I'm not really eager to go get a Canadian job when that dollar won't go further when I need to run my American business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, exactly.
A moment ago, MJ, I'm always paying attention, and I saw all those checkered flags fly up. So you're being very subtle. Being very subtle. I like the way you're so subtle, MJ. It's great.
Yeah, I know.
Brent, so I think we should punch out. We've been on
Yeah.
air for over 2 hours, so we'll punch
All right.
out.
Yeah, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on today. This has been a great session. Lots to talk about. Got pretty riled up. That's good. It keeps our audience entertained too.
Happy New Year.
To really focus on what is it that they're talking about, and really like I want people to come on and talk about like their lived experience, but also Maddie, what you mentioned, I think that you're onto something really good on the not just lived experience. It's about your lived it's like almost like your entrepreneur, like your expertise, like what are you good at doing going forward. I think that's something that we could maybe kind of challenge.
Yeah, I really wanna get new guests, new show ideas,
Yeah.
kind of fresh blood.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
anybody that has any ideas, like it's a lot of work, honestly,
a lot of
for both me and Brent to do. Like we're chief cook and bottle washer, and
Yeah.
like we're two guys running a whole podcast. It's a lot of work, right? And if we had somebody to help with the guests or whatever, show ideas would be great. But
Yeah,
let's punch out.
Yeah, Neil and I had an idea on that. Well, we'll reach out off the show, and we're gonna just discuss a few things that we come across. But first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this year.
So all the charities that I
all the show-
mentioned, you can
thank you,
pitch to
everyone.
them the podcast, like because each
That's
one of
true.
them
That's
they do a
true.
peer support group or they have
Yeah.
a focus group or they all have an email list.
Yeah.
If you
Like,
have any
how-
links, why not post them on the YouTube in the comments
Exactly. And
afterwards?
Disability Without
Yeah, really.
Poverty,
Mhm.
they had their
Exactly.
podcast this year. You can email them to let them know
Yeah.
their guests on
Well,
their
and
podcast
like-
could be on this
And like
podcast.
both my email address and Brent's email address, like we're open books. So anybody
Yep.
want to reach out and book a session with us, like like a podcast.
Because
like,
almost all the
we're-
charities have a podcast now. So it's
Yeah.
just a matter of connecting to all of them.
Exactly. Yeah, we can
And
network together. Yeah.
Should
Yeah.
all acquaintance be forgot?
I don't know
Forget all
Thanks,
for
everyone, for
all
tuning in.
anxiety, my dear, for all my anxiety. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning
Later.
Cheers.
in.